All right. At the end of that video, I was getting ahead of myself. I was going to jump into part 6, but I'm trying to make it separate ones. So, if you remember, in part 5, the mariner had fallen down in a faint. It was the word swooned. Okay, so the spirit seems to let go of the ship, and now it's going on its own, and the ship is acting like a pawing horse and bounds forward, flung the blood into his head, and he fell down in a swoon. So then he's in this fit. He doesn't know how long, he can't say, but he's hearing, while he's kind of passed out here, he's hearing these spirits talking. It's kind of like when Frodo puts on the ring and he can go into the world and he can see the evil kings riding on their horses, and then he takes the ring off and it's not quite the same. So it's almost like the ancient mariner has entered some kind of spirit world here in part 6. These spirits, it says first voice and second voice for us here, continue to discuss the ancient mariner. He's in a trance. And so maybe he's in a dream, maybe he's entered the spirit world, but his boat is now like flying across the ocean, miraculously northward toward home. And the mariner, still in his trance, can kind of feel the wind and feels joy when he gets to his home, but he's also horrified. There's all these lifeless corpses around him. I mean, what's he supposed to say? And so as this portion comes to the end, there's a harbor pilot who's traveling with a hermit, and they come and they approach the mariner's ship to see what's going on. So, the first voice, but tell me, speak again, thy soft response renewing, what makes that ship drive on so fast? What is the ocean doing? Second voice, still as a slave before his lord, the ocean hath no blast. His great bright eye most silently up to the moon is cast, if he may know which way to go, for she guides him, smooth or grim. See, brother, see, how graciously she looketh down on him. First voice, but why drives on that ship so fast, without or wave or wind? The second voice says, the air is cut away before and closes from behind. Fly, brother, fly, more high, or we shall be belated. For slow and slow that ship will go when the mariner's trance is abated. I woke, and we were sailing on, as in a gentle weather. 'Twas night, calm night, the moon was high, the dead men stood together. All stood together on the deck, for a charnel dungeon fitter. All fixed on me their stony eyes that in the moon did glitter. The pain, the curse with which they died had never passed away. I could not draw my eyes from theirs, nor turn them up to pray. And now the spell was snapped once more. I viewed the ocean green, and looked far forth, yet little saw of what had else been seen. Like one that on a lonesome road doth walk in fear and dread, and having once turned round walks on, and turns no more his head, because he knows a frightful fiend doth close behind him tread. But soon there breathed a wind on me, nor sound nor motion made. Its path was not upon the sea, in ripple or in shade. It raised my hair, it fanned my cheek, like a meadow gale of spring. It mingled strangely with my fears, yet it felt like a welcoming. Swiftly, swiftly flew the ship, yet she sailed softly too. Sweetly, sweetly blew the breeze, on me alone it blew. Oh, dream of joy, is this indeed the lighthouse top I see? Is this the hill? Is this the kirk? Is this mine own country? We drifted o'er the harbor bar, and I with sobs did pray, oh, let me be awake, my God, or let me sleep alway. The harbor bay was clear as glass, so smoothly it was strewn, and on the bay the moonlight lay, and the shadow of the moon. The rock shone bright, the kirk no less, that stands above the rock. The moonlight steeped in silentness the steady weathercock, and the bay was white with silent light, till rising from the same, full many shapes that shadows were, in crimson colors came. A little distance from the prow, those crimson shadows were. I turned my eyes upon the deck. Oh, Christ, what saw I there? Each corse lay flat, lifeless and flat, and by the holy rood, a man all light, a seraph man, on every corse there stood. This seraph band each waved his hand. It was a heavenly sight. They stood as signals to the land, each one a lovely light. This seraph band each waved his hand. No voice did they impart, no voice, but oh, the silence sank like music on my heart. But soon I heard the dash of oars. I heard the pilots cheer. My head was turned perforce away, and I saw a boat appear. The pilot and the pilot's boy, I heard them coming fast. Dear Lord in heaven, it was a joy. The dead men could not blast. I saw a third. I heard his voice. It is the hermit good. He singeth loud his godly hymns that he makes in the wood. He'll shrieve my soul. He'll wash away the albatross's blood. Now, interesting here. There's 3 men coming toward him in a boat. The pilot's son, and the hermit. Kind of a triune here, so that's interesting. So the mariner is in the trance, and this angelic power causes the vessel to go northward faster than human life could endure. And this supernatural motion then is slowed down, and the mariner wakes up, and his penance starts all over again. The curse is finally lifted, forgiven, absolved, and he comes into his own harbor, his native country. What beautiful words there. Oh, dream of joy, is this indeed the lighthouse top I see? Is this the hill? Is this the kirk? Is this mine own country? So it just has the impact of how emotional it is to see his homeland. So the angel spirits, it's a beautiful image too. They're all on top of each of these dead men on their corpses, and they wave their hand, and then they disappear. There's no sound, but that silence in this case is better than any sound. It's like music, and they just kind of turn into these beautiful lights, each one a lovely light. And then as that's happening, he hears this dash of oars, and so he knows he is entering reality once again. So soft response, that's going to be assonance. The 2 voices in 410 to 429, they're talking about what is making the ship go so fast, what is happening here. 417 to 421, what's being personified? Well, it's the moon guiding him, because that moon with that black cloud was going along with the ship that whole time. Then 429 is the end of the dialogue between the 2 voices. According to their conversation, what will happen to the ship once the mariner is out of his trance? So he says, fly, brother, fly, more high, or we shall be belated, delayed, or ended even. For slow and slow that ship will go when the mariner's trance is abated. So it's going super speed. Think Star Wars when they go at that ultra speed, and then it's going to stop, and for whatever reason these spirits who are talking don't want to be there when it slows down. What effect does the group of sailors have on the mariner? So he's looking around at them, and the dead men are all standing together. Charnel Dungeon, if you look at your footnote, is a place where corpses or bones are deposited, and they're fixing their stony eyes on them. And this curse has never passed away, and he can't take his eyes away, and he can't pray. And then all of a sudden the spell is snapped, and then he can look away. He looks at the ocean and kind of looks around, and the curse is lifted. So the mood that is then created like one that on a longsome road doth walk in fear and dread, and having once turned round walks on, and turns no more his head. Like, he's afraid what's going to happen next when you're walking down this lonely road at night and you hear something and you're like, if I turn around, will that make it worse? Because I'll see what made that sound that frightened me, and I'll see the monster that's about to grab me. So that's kind of the sense that Coleridge is trying to create there. And then 452, but there's this wind. It's natural, and its path is not on the sea. There's no ripple there, just on him. Raised his hair, fanned his cheek, smells like spring, mixed with his fears, feels welcoming. It's like his home country is calling him and forgiving him, so it's more comforting. Swiftly, swiftly flew the ship, and yet she sailed softly too. Sweetly, sweetly blew the breeze, on me alone it blew. So that's your alliteration. And then the imagery in 464 to 467. Is this the hill? Is this the kirk? Is this mine own country? So we have repetition, and this is anaphora once again. And we also kind of see what is his homeland meaning to him. And I'm going back to page 431. Kirk is a church. So think of the significance of him picking out, oh, is this the church? He is thinking about the memories that he has with the church and being there. So 468 to 471, in your own words, we drifted o'er the harbor bar, so drifted into the harbor, and with sobs did pray. So he's crying, but it's a prayer. Oh, let me be awake, my God. So his prayer is, let me be awake if I'm home, or let me sleep always. Let me always be here, sleeping if I'm not actually awake. There's a change in the dead sailors. What's going on? So now these angelic bodies are leaving the dead bodies. Coleridge uses a very strange simile, 498. The silence sank like music on my heart. What do you think? Is there ever a time when the silence feels so good it's like music? Yeah, maybe for your poor world lit teacher after a class on a Friday that's absolutely wild, and then they all leave. And it's just this peace and quiet. Line 400, a boat appears. There's 3 people in the boat, the pilot's boy, and the hermit. And what is the mariner wishing for? In 509 to 513, he'll shrieve my soul. That is, he wants that absolution. So he's going to confess what he has done and have the hermit forgive him. Usually hermits seem to have this importance. Living alone, they led a very ascetic life, very simple, and would be able to impart some wisdom. So that's where we're going to pause. Part 7 coming up soon.